Hi, this is Denise Evans with Cutler Real Estate. Just wanted to talk a little bit about some highlights of what a purchase agreement is composed of. Naturally, we would have the address of the house that is being sold and then the purchase price. And we always like to see earnest money deposit, and that is showing the seller that the buyer is sincere and they're willing to make a deposit in advance to let the seller know that they are qualified and sincere about purchasing the home. We talk about what type of financing the buyer is going to be using, and we would want to make sure that we have a pre-approval letter in place or a proof of funds if the offer is going to be a cash offer. Another item that is many times negotiated in a purchase contract is buyer's closing cost assistance. A buyer may ask the seller to assist with closing costs. It's pretty common. We see it quite often today. We would also have a deadline of when the transaction would be completed by. And usually once a house goes under contract, it takes about 30 or 45 days, depending on what type of financing. If it's a cash offer, it usually goes faster than that. We would also be very clear as who was purchasing the home and how the deed would be made out to be. We would also discuss what title company would actually be doing the title work, and usually there's a clause that discusses the taxes and utilities would be prorated up until the date of closing. Possession, of course, is another very important part of the purchase contract. When does the buyer get the keys? Sometimes it's at closing. Sometimes the buyer and seller agree to negotiate a period of time that the seller can stay in the house after closing. Usually homes are sold as is, and depending on the ownership of the home, sometimes there is a residential property disclosure form filled out through the state of Ohio, and then also a lead-based paint form depending on the age of the home. Sometimes the seller is exempt from filling one of these out, but a buyer is usually going to want to have a home inspection. That would be an inspector that they choose that would come through the house, usually between 10 and 14 days after the purchase contract is in place. And you want to have a wood destroying insect inspection. If the house has septic or well, those are 2 more inspections that would take place. And a radon inspection is also optional for the buyer. Offers, of course, usually have a time limit, so it would have a deadline on there that the buyer's asking the seller to respond by. And sometimes contracts come together on the first try, sometimes they take a lot of negotiating back and forth. But an offer becomes a contract when everything is fully signed, initial, dated, delivered back, and everybody knows that the house is indeed under contract and they have all the paperwork. I'd be happy to meet with you in person and explain more of this process. Please give me a call if I can help. Thank you.